But let me just kind of ask you, I guess we can talk about it now, point blank. Is the iPhone 13 boring? Did Apple, did they miss the mark here this year? Is there not enough here to make it compelling? Or do you think that this is a good phone, and like most years, we talk it to death, we go over and over and over everything, but once there's that presentation and that sleek graphic and comes on the screen and you see the iPhone 13, everyone's going to want to instantly buy it. What are your thoughts on the iPhone 13 this year? Is it a good phone, bad phone?
Well, I think it's going to be a good phone. I don't think it's a failure. I think it's kind of in between what you said. Like, I think it is boring, but also we've talked it to death. So it's like, it's kind of, that's what makes it boring. But also, we're just to the point now where phones are really good. The features that they can add year over year are minor at best. So unless we're getting like a full redesign, then it's not that exciting. Because if you think about it, the only reason the iPhone 12 is exciting is because it looks different. They didn't really do anything like to the actual phone. It's just a different design. So if they put it in a new case, then it's nice. It's a new shiny case. But the feature set, the year in between the designs, it's just minor iterations. Now, granted, pretty much all the features that are rumored to be coming have been on Android phones forever. So maybe that also adds to it because, that's always like a joke like that, oh, Apple took these features that Android had like 10 years ago. And, that's true a lot of the times. But there's also a lot of time where it's not true. Like Face ID is when it came out was very new. Even though many phones had Face Unlock, the way Face ID worked was pretty new. And there's a bunch of other little changes there that are like that. But these that are rumored to be coming are directly like other phones have had these for years. Like finally the iPhone is getting them. So I think that's adding to the boringness of the iPhone 13. But on the other hand, like I said, or like you said, I'm going to be buying one. Here's the real question though. If this wasn't our job, would we be getting one? I think that's a better way to kind of look at it.
I think that I was thinking about this the other day. I feel like the name maybe has more significance than I thought. And I think that maybe what hurts Apple this year, and not to their fault because they didn't name the phone yet,
that's true.
but because this got the iPhone 13 name, there is an implied bigger difference between one generation and the other than if this was to be the 12S. Because I think that if we all sat down and saw these features and then we saw the name was going to be the iPhone 12S, or maybe we saw the name first and then the features, this makes sense for an S year. Okay, some improved camera stuff, same design, smaller notch, better processor, bigger battery, like all these things together make sense for an S year. And if you have an older generation iPhone, like if you have a 10 or an 8 or any generation before that, you are in for a treat because this is a pretty substantial update if you look at it kind of in that context. But if you compare this from a 12 to a 13, and because we've all assigned it the name, myself included, iPhone 13, that's kind of what it is, then I feel like that's kind of almost hurting a little bit because people are expecting more. From 12 to 13, shouldn't there be more features, more differences, stuff like that? And that's just not in the cards this year. And
yeah.
Well, whatever Apple calls it, that's just what it is. And I don't know if the 12S would have been the saving grace for this, but I think that maybe we all had. I guess it's one of the perils of listening to the rumor mill is you get all excited for stuff that just doesn't end up happening.
I guess. Kind of you said this already, but it might not be the iPhone 13. That's just what we've been calling it. I think it's actually very, very possible this is the 12S. The only thing that shakes everything up is that it was supposed the 12 we have now should have been the 11S, but they kind of switched to this 3 generation instead of 2 generation, so they kind of messed everything up. So who knows what they do this time? I mean, there's really no way to know. Also, I think early on, correct me if I'm wrong, there were rumors that they would not call it the iPhone 13 because that's an unlucky number, and there's some stigma about that.
And some people still believe that it won't be 13.
Yeah. So if that, let's just say that's true, I could easily see this being the 12S, and then next year they go to the 14, I guess. I don't know what they would call it. If they're trying to skip 13, they would have to go to 14, I guess.
It's so complicated.
Or, here's the grand plan. This is the 12S, and that's the last year of the names. It's just the iPhone after that.
We've been hearing that rumor for so many
But
years.
that would be the perfect time to do
iPhone.
it. Like, we got to 13. We don't want to call it 13. Let's just kill it. No numbers anymore.
So it's gonna be I guess so. Next year you'd have, or I guess let's just say this year, for example, you'd have iPhone Mini, iPhone Pro, and iPhone Pro Max.
That works.
That sounds so weird. It does work. And even next year it'd be, if we get rid of the Mini, you'd still have iPhone Max, iPhone Pro Max, iPhone Pro, whatever.
And you just put
makes
in
sense.
parentheses 13th generation.
Yeah.
Well, here's another question though.
I guess I kind of like the iPod.
If they did take away the numbers, would the iPhone Mini, would that be the second generation or would that be the 14th generation?
I can't see them taking away the numbers. I understand why they shifted away from the S year, because it used to just be you had two phones and there were two different models, and then you'd have one generation, then an S year, then there were bigger screen sizes. I'm trying to, now I got to go back and think, because there was the 6 Plus. Things have started to get very complicated like over the last few years, and I understand why they dropped the S moniker. And I do think that the system they have now makes a little bit more sense, where you have the regular line and the Pro line. But I still think a lot of people put a lot of weight into that name.
Yeah, definitely.
And a lot of people, if you have a 6S, maybe you just don't understand where we are in the generations, because it's confusing.
Well, and
especially
we
if you have
skipped
an 8.
9.
So, okay, so if I have an 8, is the 10S a good jump? Should I go for a 12? Is there a 12S? I totally get that there is some confusion with the name. But I think, putting the name aside, we're just going to have to stop basing our expectations off of the phone's features based off the name alone, because that just doesn't seem to work anymore. That's what it's become.
Exactly. Plus, the name could be anything. Well, is there something recently? I feel like there is, that we thought the name was going to be something and then it was something else. Maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking incorrectly.
I've seen a lot. There's been so many debates on 12S versus 13. I think the 12S name makes a whole lot of sense. I just don't see Apple reverting back to the S name. It just seems like it's almost a step backward, at least in my mind. I think it's going to be 13, but I guess we're just going to have to wait and see what Apple actually does.
Yeah.